GOATQUEST in a much more PG-13 manner from this point forward. We're talking hockey, and it is a good time to be talking hockey in Detroit. We have not made the playoffs in the last 8 seasons if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, which I am, but I do love my Toronto Maple Leafs.
Why?
My family's from Peterborough, Ontario, on the Goff side, but the Wings were so bad. The only period, right, like when the Wings were just awful, terrible, worse than they've been in this 8-season run where they haven't made the playoffs, was that, kind of late 70s through the 80s. That was when I was growing up. Okay. So the Wings were bad, and you'd pick up Don Cherry, Hockey Night in Canada on Channel 9, and it was the Leafs, Dougie Gilmour, going back, Rick Vive, Boris Salming, Alan Bester between the pipes. I like the Leafs.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
That's my argument. I'm sticking to it.
A lot of people like the Chiefs, too, now.
Oh, that's bandwagon.
Exactly. It's bandwagon.
It can't be bandwagon for the Leafs because they haven't won a cup since 1967.
I know, and your family's from Peterborough, so you feel like you're brethren to the people of Montreal.
I'm Irish, Canadian,
Toronto,
American.
Or wherever.
I'm American, Canadian, Irish if you go in order backwards.
Yeah. I was actually a little happy that Canada won that game.
Yeah?
I wasn't really. But, I mean, what else they have? What else you have in Canada?
You weren't taking an anti-Trump stance.
No.
Okay.
No anti-Trump. I love the stuff he's doing. I just don't like him.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put what's happening.
Just the truth.
Just the truth.
Not to get all political.
No, but we did have the Academy Awards where a lot of political statements are always made by people who have so much experience in political science.
I mean, did you watch it, the Academy Awards?
I watched most of it. Yeah,
you really did?
That's
enjoyable to you?
Well, Adrian Brody's speech accepting the best actor award.
The best ass award?
See, it was Freudian. That was a Freudian slip. Because he made a complete ass out of himself. He wasn't prepared. He stumbled and mumbled around. He really didn't speak to the movie or the director or Did
you actually see the movie? I know you did.
No, I didn't see this one because it's 4 hours.
So you go to movies in downtown Ann Arbor by yourself, and you haven't seen the movie that won the Oscar?
The Brutalist takes a sacrifice. You got to have a 4.5 hour chunk.
Is it really?
Yeah, because there's an intermission in the middle. It's like 2-hour movies.
Good God.
So I couldn't do it. I read about it. I in my pool, which I won, by the way, 15 wins, 8 losses in my Academy Award pool. Big money. Big money.
There's Academy Award.
Oh, you can bet on this stuff. You think there's something out there that's competitive and secret that you can't bet on?
No.
You can bet on it all.
No interest.
But I did not have Adrian Brody to win. I had Honora in all of its wins. Have you seen Honora yet?
No. I don't see movies.
Okay, well, it's fantastic.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, you should figure out how to catch that one.
Figure that out.
Yeah, and Dune Part 2 won some of the big special effects ones. Are you a Dune fan?
No, I wasn't a Dune fan in the 80s when it was on.
Yeah.
And back then, that was the only thing that was on. We couldn't watch anything else.
I liked A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan biopic with Timothy Chalamet. That was another very well done film. And Mikey Madison won for Honora. She was the best actress. You might remember her from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Tarantino movie. She's the one that goes crazy and gets lit on fire in the pool. DiCaprio hits her with the flamethrower. That's her. She wins and beats Demi Moore, which a lot of people thought Demi Moore from The Substance, which is kind of a horror movie. Didn't really fit the Oscar.
God, I just
worthiness.
Don't watch. A blanket statement. I don't watch movies.
You used to.
I used to.
In college, you were a bit of a film buff.
I think, a little bit. But now it's just, there's so much on your phone and so much stimulation and so much going on and reels and shit. I don't watch movies.
Actually, that is a great segue into this comment because Sean Baker, who won for Best Director for Honora, also won Best Picture. That was his speech. He got up there so many times because he won so many awards. By the end, he just had to kind of make a statement about life.
Yeah.
Right? Because he had thanked everybody.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much his statement. He was like, look, man, we got to start all going to the movies.
Yeah.
Like the movie theaters are going to die, and this is a key part of our communal life on this planet.
You're the only person I know, that's a bud, from 30 years ago or 20 years ago that watches movies. I don't know anyone.
In the theater.
I don't know anyone
With popcorn.
In the theater?
Yeah.
I don't even know anyone that goes to the theater, but
I still go.
You're it.
I'll be in there all by myself.
Yeah.
With popcorn.
Popcorn.
Yeah.
Some Skittles.
I don't do Skittles.
You do Skittles.
I don't
you
do Skittles.
Fucking do Skittles.
I might do something chocolatey if I had just eaten a meal, because I got to have that little sweet, just a
little Victor sweets.
Yeah, that's a Vicky Sweets.
Sweets.
He taught me that. Yeah, so the Academy Awards are over. We're now looking forward to playoff seasons for our winter sports. We know that we're going to do a March Madness episode here coming up. Selection Sunday is in the distance, but not too far away. And then hockey. The Frozen Four selection of the college teams will happen, and the playoffs are in the not too distant future for the National Hockey League. So that's our big segue into the NHL and our GOAT conversations here. So right now, as it stands, as I mentioned, your 8-time failure to make the playoffs, Detroit Red Wings, are in the last playoff spot right now. The loss to Columbus on a very controversial head shot high stick. I think Danforth was the one who threw it on Edvinsson. He high sticks him, knocks him to the ice, picks up the puck, goes in and scores the goal to beat the Red Wings in a very controversial outdoor Stadium Series game in none other than the Ohio State. What do you call that barn? Is it Ohio Stadium?
No,
is that barn?
No, I just had it too. But Dino was there.
Dino was there. Dino Candela.
Dino Candela was at the game.
Okay, so Columbus catapulted above the Wings in the standings. They were the last. Now the Wings are the last, but the Wings are still in at this point. In the Atlantic Division, they're looking up at the Maple Leafs with 79 and Florida also 79 points. And then right above the Wings is the team that's probably been the most consistent of the last decade, which is the Tampa Bay Lightning. And John Cooper, who, as you noted, for the Team Canada win,
was the head coach,
was the coach of the Four Nations, where Canada took out the United States in the final game. Another thrilling moment for professional hockey.
It was great for hockey.
Next year, going into the Olympics, probably more of the same. It's going to be more exciting international play going into the Olympics. Is Cooper going to be the Canadian coach for that as well?
I don't know, but how do you bottle that up? How do you bottle? We talked about this last time. How do you bottle that up for other sports, right? For all-star games, tough. How do you do it in baseball? It's really not a physical
the baseball all-star game has always been cooler.
Yeah, they do the home run derby
because it's not really a hardcore contact sport, so you can do it in the middle of the season, and you do the home run derby, you do these different contests. Baseball's always just had that all-star game. The Summer Classic is more important. I don't know why.
Yeah, maybe it's in the presentation of how they present it before the week before they have. I don't know. It's just football's horrible. It's horrible. It's the one sport that we were talking about this the other day with Brett Slotka when we got together to,
slots. Yeah. Sweet slots.
Sweet slots. Other sports, money matters a little bit more.
More?
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but the influence of money and suns and ice time and opportunity and
legacy, building your Hall of Fame resume.
All that stuff. In football, that shit doesn't matter at all. At all.
No.
Maybe in some youth league in Northville or Birmingham, maybe that matters because the dad paid for the whole team to have new uniforms and they got to play their son. But that shit gets washed out quick.
Football, different than other sports, so physically demanding. You can't do a midseason game. That would be completely outside of the realm of possibility.
You can't half speed it.
No. And they try to do this flag game, and the flag game is a flag game. The skill competitions have gotten more interesting. But at the end of the day, football, more than any other sport, you are graded on championships, Super Bowl rings.
Sure.
Right? More than any other sport, like if you don't get the Super Bowl ring, there's been plenty of people who have gone through their careers in the NBA who are on the top 50 list who didn't get an NBA title, and same with hockey.
Yeah.
Very difficult for people who did not get a Super Bowl ring to even get mentioned with the highest class.
Yeah, it is one of the most important things when you talk about a football player, But
look at Stanley Cup. Getting back to hockey, looping this back in.
If you listen to the hockey players, all they talk about is a cup. That's all that matters too. And
because money has never been as ridiculous in hockey as it is in the other sports, guys will take a discount at the end of their career in hockey to just get the cup.
Sure.
Ray Bourque comes to mind, right? Leaving Boston and going to the Avalanche to get that cup.
Yeah.
And there's been more. Luc Robitaille for the Wings. If we segue into your significant other, Mano Rayom, works with Luc Robitaille with the LA Kings.
Yeah.
He came to the Detroit Red Wings to win a cup at the end of his career.
Yeah. God, in this NIL too, I know I'm jumping around a little bit. It's going to change the game. It's going to take a few years, but it's changing people's lives that aren't even in the NFL yet. It's just going to change the game in so many ways that we don't see yet.
Yeah, we had the NFL Combine. That's another thing that just happened.
Yeah.
The University of Texas, I think, had 5 guys that ran in the top 20, 40 times.
Yeah.
So speed kills. I mean, they were there at the end of the year knocking on the door.
It's funny, though. You look back the last 2-3 years and you see the guys run a 4.25 and they're not in the NFL anymore. At the end of the day,
Xavier Worthy.
Yep, they do. But at the end of the day, a 4.25 will get you 3-4 years. You still got to play.
Yeah, as everybody
you still
does.
got to play, as everybody does.
So redirecting this back to our subject matter of hockey, we now have a hockey season where there's something on the line in Detroit. There's a reason to watch. Basketball as well. So the winter sports with the Pistons doing as well as they have kind of re-energized Detroit.
The firing also was huge. McClellan's done great. And he was actually, Mano gave him a lot of props when he was in L.A. She said he was a really good guy, really good coach, related to the players well. And she thought he would get another job. She just didn't know it would be.
He's the first coach in a long time that lit up the captain Dylan Larkin a little bit.
Yeah.
In the last week.
Yeah.
About
kind of put a little blame on him.
It's like, hey, if you wear the C, you got to step up. Yeah, you played the Four Nations, and a lot of people didn't. But hey, Lucas Raymond had to play in the Four Nations for Sweden, and everybody's got to carry their weight.
Yeah.
And that accountability level, making it indiscriminate across all levels of your team leadership is important. That consistency is important. And it's borne out, right, in the standings. Now, what you wouldn't have been able to convince me in the preseason is that the Washington Capitals would be sitting atop the Eastern Conference with 86 points. I mean, I think we all just thought that the Washington Capitals show was the Ovechkin chasing Gretzky show for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I had no vantage point on them stepping up in a way that was going to put them right now 39-14, right? And Ovechkin, along with this great run, 11 goals away from the untouchable record of the great one.
What is he, 46? I think he's upper 40s. I thought he was.
I know Yager went till he was 46, or 45 or 46.
Maybe he's 44. 40. He's in his 40s for sure.
He's in his 40s.
Yeah.
He's still getting it done. He's
gray,
as gray-bearded as anybody. I still love the ESPN commercial where he's KGB getting extended up into the ceiling after photocopying our secrets in Bristol, Connecticut. But yeah, the Hurricanes are behind them in the Metro. I guess the Devils still have a pulse out there. We'll see. That's where 2 of the Hughes brothers are, Michigan-centric with Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes.
You know those guys live on Orchard Lake in Michigan in the off-season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Michigan.
They got a house right on Orchard Lake.
Don't the parents have a place in Plymouth?
They're in Canton. They're members at Orchard Lake Country Club.
Yeah, the Hughes brothers. And Quinn is out in Vancouver. I don't think they're doing as well.
There's a lot. You'd be surprised how many guys hang out in Michigan.
They have 2 leagues where pro guys play in the summer.
Yeah. I see them all the time at like 5 and Beck at a breakfast place over there. They train at USA, and there's like 15 of them that come in there in the morning, and like half of them are all-stars.
Tons of Michigan guys. And I'm going to segue to that here in a second when we talk about the college hockey. But to round out the Eastern Conference, the defending champion Florida Panthers are right with the Maple Leafs in the Atlantic. And that Tampa Bay Lightning team, pretty much the premium team of the last 5 or 6 years, the only one to win back-to-back cups recently, is right behind them with 74 points. If we go out to the Western Conference, the story has been the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Kyle Connor, another Michigan guy out there. Shifley, Connor Hellebuck between the pipes, who went to Walled Lake Northern from Commerce Township, Michigan.
I didn't know
another
that.
Michigan guy.
I didn't
Hellebuck
know
that won the Vezina. He's right now the best goalie, not just an American, but the best goalie in the NHL. They are 42-15 with 88 points out there in Winnipeg. And going to Winnipeg is going to be a tough travel for anybody.
Yeah.
So if they can get home ice throughout the playoffs, I think the Winnipeg Jets are in very, very good position. Another shocker for me, the Dallas Stars, Minnesota Wild. Those are the two teams behind them. Minnesota's done all this, 74 points, sitting there in third in the Central without Kasparov. He's been out for, 20-something games now. And they just came in and I think they split with the Wings. But when you look at the way that the Golden Knights and the Pacific and the Oilers and the Kings,
the Kings have lost 4 in a row.
Kings have lost 4 in a row, but they're still 5 out of their last 10, right?
Yeah.
So they had a nice run right before that.
Yeah.
But the LA Kings anybody below the LA Kings is going to have a tough time making any kind of a run if you're under 70 points at this point in the season. So you got the Edmonton Oilers, McDavid, who's actually getting outshined by Draisaitl. Draisaitl's got 90 points and 44 goals. He's leading the NHL in goals, ahead of Nylander now by 9 goals. He's up by 9 goals in this race. Now he's got McDavid.
That's taking double teams and
moving the puck.
And giving him opportunity, sure.
And a huge leader in the whole flow of the game. But Nate McKinnon is the top in points, right? Just 1 point ahead of Draisaitl. And then Kucherov behind him. Mitch Marner, who people are saying is on the trade block in the last half of his contract here. Love to see the Wings figure out how to get more goal scoring, but the Wings have more problems on the blue line than they do amongst their forwards right now. The Wings have got to figure out how to shore up that defense. And I think that that's what the Maple Leafs might be thinking. It's always been the blue line. It's always been the defenseman that can't hang in the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maybe they move Marner before the trade deadline and get that big number 1 defenseman. Okay. We'll see if that's what shores up the Toronto Maple Leafs. But McDonough for Tampa Bay and Marchenko, who we just saw for Columbus coming in this stadium series, these 2 games that we've had to play against Columbus, they are both plus 35.
Wow.
So just contributing to the wins of your team and plus minus, McDonough for Tampa Bay and Marchenko for Columbus are plus 35. Nobody else is within 4 points of them. And then, of course, Hellebuck, the only goaltender in the NHL to be under 2 goals against.
You know, the goaltending, it's a lot like a kicker in football. Like, when's the last time a goaltender was a first-round pick? There's not.
Probably Juan Brodeur. I mean, has there been
like 30 years ago or something?
That's a long time. I think it might be more than 30.
Yeah, because I was talking to Minot about that goaltender from Michigan State. He's the best goaltender in college hockey. Augustine.
Yeah.
And I said, is he a first-round pick? And she goes, oh, no. Probably second or third round pick.
They're just not taking risks on.
They just don't take risks on goaltender because goaltenders get cold, period. Doesn't matter who you are, right? Sooner or later.
Well, Hellebuck's an amazing story, right? He never played junior hockey. Well, never played junior A hockey. He bounced around like the junior Bs and then figured out how to get himself to University of Massachusetts Lowell, I think. I think he was UMass Lowell, and then has breakout seasons in college that got him his pro contract. But he was never a AAA player. He played high school hockey. I think he's the only NHL goaltender that only played high school hockey on the way up.
Wow. Did he grow a lot at the end?
Well, no, he
grew 8 inches.
He probably grew
something?
into the big body that he was.
Yeah.
But I talked to his goalie coach. His goalie coach has a show on Discovery Channel, Basquatch. He's the guy who fishes out of kayaks, takes like a CEO or a celebrity out fishing with him. They did one with Hellebuck.
I think there's so many stories. Look at my story. I was a 24-year-old rookie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have never, if I was 21 years old like all the other rookies, I wouldn't have had a shot. But I put on another 10 or 15 pounds, maybe got a little stronger, I was a man,
Yeah.
And it's just the way it worked out. Right place, right time, right?
These kinds of stories are the best kinds of stories because
They give you hope.
They give you hope, and they let the fans kind of intermingle into the world, like the what if, like, okay, my kid has a shot.
All the fans see is somebody that was on the cover of Sports Illustrated out of high school, went straight to Michigan, played Michigan for 4 years, got drafted in the second round, and had no chance of getting cut, and it was just an amazing athlete.
Right.
And that's not the norm.
No,
it actually probably is the norm for the NFL, but there's so many players that get on there that grew 6 inches or put on 20 pounds or, how many.
How about Shine for the Grand Rapids Griffins, who got the call up at 32 years old?
32 years old, yeah.
Those are the stories that keep people really interested in the game because anything can happen.
Yeah.
If you just keep working. It's that old adage, right?
Yeah.
Work hard, do your job, you'll get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Connor Hellebuck obviously is taking huge advantage of that opportunity. The Golden Knights are atop that Pacific Division ahead of the Oilers. I went out and saw them. If you have not seen a game at T-Mobile Arena, do yourself a favor and put it on your bucket list. So first of all,
Minot's done it's a crank.
Oh, the crank.
The crank thingy. Yeah. She did that.
Yeah. They've got all kinds of little gimmicks.
Yeah.
They've got the dancing girls. They've got the skaters.
Oh, so it's like Vegas.
Oh, they're scantily clad women troubling about the stairwells and everywhere around. They've got a dance team. They've got the guys in the full armor, the knights themselves. But before the game, you come out of the casinos, and there's a little pathway that kind of winds around between Park and New York, and there's like a pub crawl. There's a row of these kind of indoor-outdoor bars.
We went to it. We were at the NHL All-Star game, and they had it outside. It was amazing.
It's amazing, right? Yeah. And they do this for every home game. So you go and you can kind of enjoy some merriment on the way to the stadium. And then when you get to the stadium, if you get there early, they'll have usually a kid from the Children's Hospital type of thing. And the kid will get up and the kid will read the final statement of the pregame that they do on the big screen. So it's this giant screen out in front of the stadium. And the kid will say, "Open the gates." Really? And the whole thing, this graphic comes and slams down and the night comes in. And then they start taking tickets and people pour into the stadium.
Oh, cool.
So the whole thing is great. The atmosphere is amazing. I think it's the best show in hockey right now is what they're doing with the Golden Knights out in Vegas.
Awesome.
They've got it down.
Awesome.
So go see one of those games. So let's take this little 4-division world of the NHL. Who do you like right now? Give me your opinion.
My opinion?
You might. Sometimes we guess and we're right.
The Vegas Knights.
The Vegas Golden Knights are in very good position in the Western Conference.
Position.
And Jack Eichel is a hell of a player. I think the Jets, because of that home ice, because they're out in the middle of nowhere, because it's just nothing but hockey, and it's been so long for that team to have all these pieces coming together at the right time. I do like the Jets out west. I'm holding out hope that the Maple Leafs make a move at the trade deadline and shore up that blue line. But the Panthers are still built to win playoff hockey games. Tkachuk, Bennett, they've got some really tough players that know how to cinch things up in the playoffs and play that really tight brand of hockey. Tough for me to pick against Florida. I love the Capitals' story. I don't think that the Capitals will have enough. I think they're a little long in the tooth. I like the Hurricanes coming up behind them. Edmonton. Obviously, that's the most skilled team in hockey. Again, their blue line and their goaltending. Can they get it done on the back end? I'm going to go Hurricanes, Panthers in the East, and I'm going to go Golden Knights, Jets in the West with the Jets winning a Stanley Cup.
Okay.
That's my rundown.
Oh.
Now one that's a little more closer to you since you're going on Friday.
Yes.
The NCAA Frozen Four hockey outlook currently. Right now, Boston College sits amongst the top, but Michigan State and Minnesota, all the three of them have been
I love
trading.
Minnesota, they got 15 draft picks. They got some 23-year-old kids that are big. That's the thing when I watch.
Hard to believe they lost 8 games.
I can't believe it.
With that lineup.
I was talking
Gotta think goaltending.
to Dakota Rayon Mullen, and he plays for Michigan. And I said, I can't believe you guys beat Minnesota. And he goes, actually, they didn't play that well. And when we beat them, but big, strong, fast.
You wonder how the locker room is when you got all those stars, all those draft picks.
Yeah.
There's only one puck. Yeah. There's only one first line.
Yeah.
Right? There's only one center on that first line.
Yeah, but all these teams have first, second round, third. Nobody goes to the NHL anymore after they get drafted. How many?
This is where I think Nightingale has done his best work at Michigan State. I think Nightingale has still focused, even though he's got some of those big draft picks, he's focused on having the role players in the right spots and the locker room.
Yeah.
It seems like Michigan State plays for each other.
And they've got Augustine. When you got the best goalie in college hockey. I mean, he's going to have some bad games, but in general, he's not.
The rest of the rounding out of the top 10 is a lot of the usual suspects until you get to the bottom. Well, Western Michigan, first of all, they've been good recently, but they're great this year at number 4, 24-7.
Yeah.
So don't look down on the Broncos. They're a rising force in college hockey. Ohio State and Connecticut, usually it's Quinnipiac from Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah,
that rises up. They're down at 13th right now. But this is UConn at number 8. Denver, who's always there. Providence, who's usually there. Maine, who's there a lot. They're the middle.
UMass Lowell.
Yeah, UMass Lowell.
Yeah.
The UMasses usually have good teams, but BU is 10th and Michigan's 11th right now. So you're going to see Michigan at 11, play Penn State at number 15.
Yeah, and I was talking to Dakota about it. He's like,
Who's Dakota?
Dakota Rayon Mullen. He's Minot Rayon's son.
Defenseman for
Michigan. He came home on Sunday, and we're sitting there, and he's like, I think we got to win, like, at least 2 games to get in.
To be sure
to get in. Yeah.
I mean, they're sitting there at 18-13.
Yeah.
You don't want to be close to 500.
So it's at Yost. We're going on Friday. It's at Yost. So the home team does matter. It doesn't matter what sport it is, but yeah, we'll see.
Right behind Michigan. So who would be the benefactor of Michigan losing? Obviously Penn State, because that's who they're playing, and Penn State's not far behind them. But Arizona State started their hockey program with a lot of pomp and circumstance. Then they had a lull. Now they're building this program back up again. They've had that weird stuff with the stadium. Of course, they lost their NHL team. The NHL team was playing at their stadium for a while. A lot of weirdness out at Arizona State. A great young player, Michael Barron, who my son played with here from Victory Honda, is committed there. So they've started to recruit here in Michigan more. But imagine, you're in 100-degree heat.
No.
And you're going to play college hockey.
No.
Now, going to watch college hockey when you're in the 100-degree heat has got to be amazing. Like, I can't believe that place isn't packed every game to get people getting away from the heat, get a few beers, watch a hockey game.
No kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been. I've seen pictures of Arizona State, and I can't imagine if I.
It's distracting.
Oh gosh, very distracting. Very distracting for a young man.
I think what Tom is intimating is that, and this is a fact, I'm not just making this up for comic relief, Arizona State leads the NCAA in sexually transmitted diseases. That is a fact. I think only the villages of Florida have more volume than the campus of Arizona State University.
Where did you read that?
These are things that pop up on my RSS feed, on the news feed.
I would have bet that Michigan State isn't far behind. Michigan?
Well, don't cast aspersions.
Not so much.
Boston University sits right above Michigan, 18-12. Why do I mention BU? Well, if we're talking about all-time teams, BU and BC have 5 national championships. Most national championships are the University of Michigan and Denver. We talked about Denver sitting there at number 7, 24-9. They don't play as good a schedule out west as we do in the Big Ten, but Denver and the University of Michigan have won 9. However, Michigan hasn't won one since 1998.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been a while.
So a lot of those were when Red Berenson was playing hockey.
That's 27.
And then
that's
coaching
27
hockey.
Years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it goes way back for Michigan.
How can 1998 be 27 years?
27 years
17? I'd be okay, but 27 years.
27. U of M has not won since 98. Denver won in 2022. North Dakota has 8 national championships. Their last was in 2016. North Dakota is another one that's kind of fallen off here. But from what I've heard, seeing a hockey game in Fargo, where you and I both played the Snowball, this stadium in Fargo that they built for hockey is supposed to be the best in college hockey.
Really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be an absolutely fantastic venue. But BU and BC sit there at 5. Minnesota also has 5. The only one above them is Wisconsin with 6. Wisco. Okay, so the Big Ten well represented there amongst the best ever. But college hockey's got some weird schools that you only hear about.
Quinnipiac.
Well, and they're only Division I in hockey. The one that I always see pop up is Clarkson.
Yeah.
Not Clarkston,
Clarkson.
the high school in Michigan. It's in upstate New York.
Okay.
It's in Potsdam, New York. But there's also like St. Lawrence in that division. There's one that's like Benton or Bennett.
Even look on here. Look at UMass Lowell. That's got to be only a Division I hockey program.
Maybe basketball.
UMass Lowell.
UMass.
Really?
Well, UMass.
Tournament?
Amherst. We won't get into Amherst. That school's named after a British general that slaughtered Indians and committed atrocious acts of chemical violence using smallpox against Indian tribes. Somehow he still has his name on a college in this country. So don't go figure. They've Me Too'd and blacklisted people for anything except this one British general that killed children.
You still got a statue?
I'm sure that there's a statue somewhere to this joker. But if you look down this list, Quinnipiac at 13, again, Denver, which is a dominant hockey program. University of Denver doesn't get much run elsewhere. And Clarkson sits down at 19, Holy Cross at 20. Colorado College tied at 20. So there's a lot of schools that you only see in the Frozen Four. Obviously, you're going to be rooting for Michigan, but you've seen a few of these teams in the college hockey ranks. Which one stands out to you as having a shot to go the distance?
I think Minnesota for sure. With 15 different draft picks. They've got great speed. Their forwards are great. Their defensemen are 23 years old. They're 6'4", 230. They're men. When I watched them, I couldn't believe Michigan beat them, but they did. That's one team. And the other team that I really like is BU. They've got a bunch of NHL players on there. They've got good goal scorers. They got good defensemen, good goalie. I know a few of the guys that are on the team.
Is the youngest Hudson on that team?
And he used to play with Dakota at USA.
Maybe he's not. They got so many Hudsons. He might only be the
other
third
one's
youngest.
in the NHL.
Well, playing great hockey for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
Great defenseman, Lane Hudson.
Yeah.
I agree. I think this might be Michigan State's year. I think with the great goaltender between the pipes.
I really like the coach.
Nightingale's
I love
Nightingale.
I just like his demeanor. I went to a few games last year when Dylan St. Cyr was playing goalie. And just his demeanor, he's very calm. He's very collected. Doesn't yell.
Never too up, never too
down. He's just like this on the bench. Even when there's when they're arguing with the referee or something, he just never raises his voice. He's kind of a cool cat. I just like the way he the way he rolls.
I do too. I talked to Mike Gilmore about this. He's former Michigan State goaltender. And everybody loves Nightingale up there. All the Michigan State alums love him.
Dylan played for him. He still talks to him, golfs with him in the summer when he comes down here.
Yeah.
Seems like a good guy.
I would like to see Michigan State return to the podium. They haven't won one since Ron Mason was coach. The Frozen Four is upon us. Of course, I'll be rooting for Michigan, too. Get over there to Yost. If you haven't seen a hockey game at Yost in Ann Arbor, amazing venue. I'm just one of the best venues to watch a hockey game in, period. Go Michigan, Western Michigan at number 4 for you Broncos fans. They're going to be right there as well. So now we move into our GOAT conversation. You know what? Actually, before I get into the GOAT conversation, I want to mention something about Michigan State since we both like them. They got a kid coming. I think he's at USHL Dubuque right now, who my son played with at Little Caesars, a kid named Lucas Van Vliet, and that kid is special. When that kid gets his stick on the puck, it's going to be electric when he arrives at Michigan State. So I love the fact that I've had a chance to see some of these kids coming up through the youth ranks, and now they blossom in juniors and get a chance at college. Dakota, I saw him coming all the way up as an 06, fantastic player all the way through. But, watching all of the skills and the hard work come together and these guys get a chance to play on a great stage, Lane Hudson, a lot of these guys played at TPH, which is the Hockey Academy program out in Bloomfield Hills. It's great to see these kids young and they mature all the way to realize their dream.
Yeah.
So the dream is to become a Stanley Cup winning team. And when we look at the greatest teams of all time that we now have to judge, I'm going to give you a landscape first.
Okay.
Right? Because hockey is strange in that more than any other sport, teams have had dynastic runs that are like chunks of eras where they were just
that used to be that way in football a little bit too. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, Dallas Cowboys, you're able to keep, back when money wasn't such a huge thing now.
And you had the Yankees.
Yeah.
In baseball, but in hockey, it's kind of always been these chunks consistently every decade since the 40s. Okay. So it starts out in 1947 with Toronto. The Maple Leafs won 4 out of 5 cups in the 40s. Then the Wings come in and win 4 out of 6 into the mid 50s. Both clubs having, multiple cup streaks. But then things change. Gordie Howe scores a goal to win Game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens in 1955, and then it becomes the Montreal Canadiens League. And that goes on for decades. When you look at the dominance, and now Monod can say that I gave props to Montreal, right, for its French-Canadian excellence. Montreal won 5 cups in a row from 56 to 60. That's the Toe Blake era with Rocket Richard and Jean Beliveau. Then Toronto mixes it up with them, and they trade cups through the 60s. It's Toronto, Montreal, Toronto, Montreal. Toronto wins their last one in 67, and then Montreal finishes off the 60s with a couple cups. Then it's Montreal and Boston. Then it's Montreal and Philadelphia. And that takes us all the way through the 70s. So Montreal is still consistently winning a couple of cups all the way through until the sweep with Lafleur and Lemaire and Larry Robinson in 1976, one of the greatest Montreal Canadiens teams ever. 76 to 79, they won 4 more cups in a row. So this wasn't just one historic run. They won 5, then they won 4. Then it becomes the New York Islanders League in 1980, the New York Islanders with Mike Bossy, Brian Trottier, Potvin, Smith, and between the pipes. They win 4 from 80 to 83. Then it's the Edmonton Oilers with Gretzky. They win, 5 out of 7 cups? The Battle of Alberta with Calgary in there. Montreal sneaks in another cup in 86. The Pittsburgh Penguins with Lemieux and Jagr. The New York Rangers with Messier. And then it becomes Colorado, Detroit, and New Jersey. And those 3 clubs win all the cups for a run. That takes us all the way pretty much to now, where nobody wins, other than Tampa Bay with their 2 cups. It's been a lot of diversity, a lot of equity amongst the teams since then. 4 cups in a row have been won by 4 different teams.
It's probably the salary cap. It's just like the NFL, I mean, everybody's got the same amount of money in the NHL.
So you think the tightening of the salary cap?
I think so. You can't keep teams together. If the Lions would have won a Super Bowl this year, there would have been 4, and there's still going to be a few guys that are picked off. There'd be 4 or 5 guys that'd be playing for other teams that got big money.
But the Wings, the Devils, and the Avalanche had to deal with that, and those 3 teams had a pretty dominant run.
That was in the 90s. That was before the big. It's just the last 6, 7, 8 years, Joe. There's so much money out there and everything. $1 million is a lot of money.
So the lure to jump.
Yeah. To change your family's life, to not stay with a team to get another cup. Absolutely.
And even if it's just one player.
Yeah, but look, these kids
it can matter.
These kids are in college now. They're having life-changing money, $5 million a year. There's going to be probably a $10 million player next year.
I hope that this leaks over to hockey, because you're seeing hockey hit what I think is a moment of excellence. The 4 Nations was the catalyst.
Yeah.
I think the Stadium Series stuff works for people, and playoff hockey is amazing, and people are finally starting to get that. And if you go to hockey games, you understand what the fans are rabid about.
And I know that they're slowly changing this NIL thing, but I think they've got something that every single player at a college is going to get the same amount of money. You'll still have the guys that make the big money, right? But they're going to have some minimum amount that everybody at the college gets. That's what I've heard. I don't know if it hasn't happened yet, but it's coming.
With all these small schools, like we've talked about, Clarkson, right? I mean, schools that you rarely hear. Lindenwood is a Division I hockey program, right? Northern Michigan and Lake Superior State, Northern Michigan and Lake Superior State are on the list of all-time teams. I mean, they've won multiple national championships, right? When you look at all of those programs, couldn't one, like we've talked about, one very rich individual, one wealthy person who before they die wants to see the Ferris State Bulldogs, a Division I hockey program, raise the cup, raise the Frozen Four championship in Big Rapids. Couldn't that get done?
Look at Live Golf. They could crush the PGA if they wanted to. They could smoke it. with 1/100th of their wealth.
Well, you would know because you play that sport, that expensive.
Yeah, we got to do a golf.
We do a golf episode. All right. Okay. We're going to get into the golf.
There you go. We talked about
Full
that.
Swing is now on Netflix.
I mean, that's the thing. You get to the point though where this money, God, money's important, but you just get to the point where it can buy anything. There's a number on anything, and I hate to say it, there is.
Yeah, the days of Huey Long, of every man a king.
Yeah,
the haves are having more, and the have-nots are having way less.
No question.
We're not going to fight the socioeconomic battle on this show.
No.
But we are going to make mention that it leaks over to sports.
But money makes the world go round, no question.
I'm going to open up the greatest of all time discussion. And obviously the production line, if you're here in Detroit, from those teams in the 50s, with Gordie Howe, Ted Lindsay, Alex DeVecchio, Frank Mahavlich. I mean, those teams are Terry Sawchuk between the pipes, we mentioned him, one of the all-time great goaltenders. I'm going to throw that team out there first as the 1950s Detroit Red Wings.
Okay. In my top 10 is the 2016 Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Jake Gunsel, Fleury in net.
The Flower.
In net, yeah.
Still doing it, by the way, for the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
The Flower.
Yeah, how old's he? 40?
Gensel. I mean, they moved Gensel. He got traded and he got moved over, but Gensel, is still doing it at a very, very high level. That might have been his rookie year, the 16, one of those two cups, either the 16 or the 17, because they won back-to-back.
Okay. And then I'm trying to just go with teams that I remember. The 80-81, I kind of remember this. Mike Bossy is kind of when I started watching
Me too.
hockey
That was my first experience.
But I watched it a little bit with
Andy
Rocket
War
Richard.
22.
Yeah.
Mike Bossy.
Dennis Potvin.
Denny Potvin and Billy Smith using that stick to carve people up in the groin if they stood in front of the net. You didn't stand in front of Billy Smith and try to screen him. Or you took a nut shot, and I don't mean walnuts.
When I watch hockey, if I was a defenseman, and they definitely don't do it in college, I wouldn't let somebody be in front of the net.
No.
I just wouldn't.
No. The Red Wings defensemen allow multiple people to stand in front of the net right now.
I know, and I don't get it.
No. You got to move bodies.
So there must be a reason, like you're going to get a penalty if you move a body. Right?
Well, obviously, if you cross-check them, if you trip them, right? And there's people who are very good at drawing penalties. They fall down in the right time when the right contact is made. But in general, you can get away with a lot as a defenseman. Watch Slavin and some of these guys. There are guys who can move people out of the front of the net effectively.
But there's no more fighting anymore in general.
The Wings' young defensemen have got to grow a pair. I'm sorry if you are a local person here who's related to one of them, but other than Sherratt and Seider, you don't see Wings defensemen moving people out of the netminder's view. And that's a problem, a big problem. That's why they've been so bad on the penalty kill.
Okay.
And why they've been so bad in 6-on-5 situations at the end of the game. Because people get traffic in front of their goaltender, and their goaltender is blinded by whatever is coming at them.
Yeah. Makes sense.
We're going to build towards Montreal. Let's let the cat out of the bag right now. The Montreal Canadiens are the greatest hockey team of all time. Even though they're down now, and kids today are probably thinking, that's crazy. All they have is Caulfield and Hudson. In every era of hockey, besides the most recent eras, besides the 2000 plus, the Montreal Canadiens dominated, and I mentioned a few of the names, but
so Minot, I asked her a question of what's Canada like with hockey, and we went to Quebec City, and people are pretty nutty there. They're waiting outside of the restaurant when you're eating in the restaurant, blah blah blah. She said Montreal is 10 times worse.
Oh yeah.
So Montreal it's just all about hockey in every way.
Everybody I've ever known who's French Canadian from Montreal at least has,
and it's different from Quebec City. It's different.
At least has a sophisticated knowledge of the game, and of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
There's people walking around Detroit never been inside of a hockey rink.
Yeah.
Never in their life, and Detroit is called Hockey Town.
Yeah.
Right. Montreal, no. You're having a tough time getting through life if you don't know a little bit about hockey in Montreal.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go to my favorites, because that Mike Bossy team with Trottier and Potvin and Smith and Goring and Nystrom, that team that won the 4 cups in a row did it in such a special way. So first of all, in 79, they lost, right? And had to, again, like so many teams, you had to get right to the altar and not get married to learn enough about it to then get it done the next time, right? So just like that, they won it the next time in 1980. And then on the back end of their run, the 4th team, the 83 Cup, they did the same thing to the Edmonton Oilers. The Oil Kings came out of Edmonton, and the Oilers came flying through the Western Conference, maybe lost 1 game on their way to the Cup, blew everybody out, averaged 6 goals a game, and they got to the Islanders in the 83, and the Islanders swept them and said, that's what a champion is. But the following year, Gretzky and Messier said, okay, you taught us a lesson last time. And they handed off and passed the torch to the Edmonton Oilers, who had one of the greatest. I mean, that 84-85. So the Oilers won 84-85, 87-88, and 90. And that's their 5 out of 7 run. And that's when Calgary, that was the Battle of Alberta, when Calgary was great. Calgary snuck in there. Montreal snuck in there. But that run by Edmonton and the New York Islanders run right before it, they were such great enemies, right? And they were such great villains for everybody else because you're always trying to beat the best. So the Islanders were the best and you're trying to beat them. Now, if you're a Leafs fan or a Wings fan, and then here come the Oilers and you're trying to beat them. Those to me, and the fighting, I mean, coming out of the Broad Street Bullies era with the Philadelphia Flyers, Bob Probert and Joey Kocur pick up right at the end of that.
Did rivalries matter more then? I think they did.
Well, fighting was so much more relevant.
Well, I mean, look at the NBA. Look at the NBA and the Pistons versus the Celtics. There was fight.
There's none now.
None.
It's a push and a shove. Maybe a wild shot that you really only threw knowing it wasn't going to connect on anybody. You want to look like you're fighting.
The Pistons games, you knew in the first period there was going to be a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Right out of the get. Yeah. Right.
Rodman, Mahorn,
no
Sally,
question. They were
Isaiah.
hacking somebody or punching somebody in the mouth.
And the Celtics were the same way. Larry Bird took no shit from no man.
No.
Right? No. Didn't matter who you were. Larry Bird was going to talk shit to you.
Yeah.
Robert Parrish. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Like there were guys who were straight up ready to thug it, and they could play, and they could hoop.
Yeah. And you had to be like that. You had no choice.
And hockey, you do have hockey. They actually will stop the game. This is the only sport where they stop the game, don't intercede for a little while while you fight.
Why are there no more fights? Just because winning's more important. Right?
Well, in playoff hockey, you can't take the extra 2 minutes.
The extra 2 minutes, and you can
you're
miss
the instigator.
And you can miss the next game. Correct?
Well,
or half or a quarter.
No, not in hockey.
No,
not in hockey. You're playing again.
Oh.
You're playing again. You'd have to get like a suspension from the league.
Okay.
Or maybe there's a number of fights. Somebody I'm sure will be able to write in and tell us, say, if you get in 3 fights in a game, you get a game misconduct for the next game. I don't know if that's true.
Last night in the NHL, how many fights were there? 0.
I didn't see. I didn't watch.
I don't think there was.
No fights.
I don't think there's. That's just rare. There used to be fights every night.
It really kind of the Players Association even has lamented this. Like you used to have to keep a couple tough guys on the team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, a couple guys made the team off.
Yeah.
Of that. Now Rempe has obviously made a name for himself. Olivier for the Blue Jackets, but he's starting to put the puck in the net a little bit. He's got like 12, 13 goals. Yeah. Tom Wilson figured out how to put the puck in the net. For the Capitals, he was, looked at as a tough guy.
Yeah.
But no, the guys who just can throw punches.
So Tom Wilson used to play for the Plymouth Whalers when I used to go to games 15 years ago, probably. And Vellucci was the coach, and he doesn't care if I say this, but we'd be screaming at him. We got vodka, we're drinking in the stands, and Vellucci, there hasn't been a fight. And he'll look over at Tom Wilson and he'll go, just goes like this.
That's the sign.
Yeah, that's the sign.
There's a signal.
That he's out there.
A flip of the index finger.
Yeah, that Tom Wilson was really tough too.
Oh, yeah.
Very tough. Nicest guy in the world. If you have a beer with him, we went out one night and him and, oh God, there's about like 4 or 5 guys that are in the NHL.
You couldn't beat
that.
Super
guys.
Joey Koster's a great guy.
I've
gotten he was over at Kensington Valley, where his kids played.
I played golf with him.
Yeah, great guy. Bob Probert, we were going to do an autograph signing and an event with him the week that he passed away. All these guys were approachable.
Yeah.
I mean, they came up to Cafe Max. You remember the Cafe Max? They would come up there. God, Barry Sanders would come up there. We'd have guys, when I was working the door there, you got interactions with all these guys, and the Probert Coaster guys, you just didn't want to be bothered for a night out. Please just keep the drunk yahoos away from me.
Yeah, even the girls.
Everybody want to take a shot at it.
Even the girls are like, we get them all the time. We're all set.
Well, you were talking about locally here, Plymouth Whalers. Out in Fraser is the Metro Jets, right? A junior BB team.
No.
That's where John Cooper started. We're talking about John Cooper, the coach.
No, well, John Cooper
started there.
John Cooper used to work for my buddy Mike Felucci.
Yeah.
He used to work for the Whalers, I believe.
He was a lawyer who had not been a hockey player, had not been a junior hockey player, got into coaching, though. So I believe started out there with the Metro Jets, ends up moving up the ranks.
Back to our comment about the different ways you get places in life. You just never know.
Scotty Bowman, the all-time winner, 9 cups, didn't play junior hockey.
Oh.
He was a hockey player, but didn't rise through the ranks.
Yeah,
not a professional.
Yeah, that's what in hockey, I bet there's a lot more head coaches that used to be hockey players than other sports. Like, look at football. Not that many coaches were football players. Most
at the highest level.
At the highest level. Most aren't.
Yeah, they played high school.
Yeah, probably.
Their dad was a coach.
Yeah.
There's some lineage usually.
Yeah, there's some lineage, but hockey, there's definitely lineage. Is there a hockey player that didn't play hockey at some level?
Hockey is incestuous.
Yeah.
It really is.
The bloodlines.
The bloodlines are everywhere. Yeah. And they're prejudicial sometimes.
Oh, no question.
You used a lot of guys who maybe deserved a shot here and didn't get one because they were up against the lineage.
Yeah, they were exactly.
You mentioned the Penguins, the 91-92 Penguins with Lemieux and Yager. Go down as Ron Francis, can't leave another Hall of Famer off of that list. Go down as one of the best clubs ever. That Colorado Avalanche team, no matter how much we hate them for going back,
good.
They were amazing with Sakic and Waugh. They got Ray Bourque the cup and some Forsberg. I mean, they put some amazing players. I'm not going to mention he who will not be named, Claude. But they had some great players there in Colorado. The Devils with Martin Brodeur, the greatest goaltender in the history of hockey, in my opinion, were great through that era. You might be right, though, Tommy. Like, the money might put us in a position now where we never see one of those dynasties again.
No, I don't think so. I mean, look at the 01-02 Red Wings. Okay? Steve Yzerman, Dominic Hasek, Chris Chelios, Nick Lidstrom, Sergei Fedorov.
First of all,
Brett Hull.
Right there, you could argue that all those guys are in the top 5 at their position.
Igor Larionov.
The professor.
Luke Robitaille.
The Frenchman.
Brendan Shanahan.
The Canuck.
Scotty Bowman. I mean, are you kidding me? That's like 11 guys that are Hall of Famers.
Hall of Fame. And now Datsuk, because Datsuk went into the Hall of Fame. He was like a rookie.
Yeah.
On the last team, on the last one.
Yeah.
A lot of Hall of Famers on those Red Wings teams. When I looked back, I saw the note that 70, I think it was the 76 team for Montreal, the team with Lafleur and Robinson, Ken Dryden in goal, Lemaire, who went on to coach the New Jersey Devils to cups, had the game winner in that series. That 76 team had 8 losses. 8 losses the whole season.
Okay.
Hockey season, that's just absolutely ridiculous. 60-8, I think, is what that team went. And Cornier was their captain. Arguably their best two-way player was Cornier.
Okay.
He had back surgery before the playoffs. He didn't even play in the playoffs. And they went on that run. And they swept right through with Guy Lafleur and Larry Robinson leading the way. So I'm going to go with the 76 Montreal Canadiens. My favorite era, though, as I mentioned, was that 83-84 passing of the torch between the Islanders and Gretzky's Edmonton. That Paul Coffey, probably the slickest skating defenseman of all time. Mark Messier, Yari Curry broke the record for goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I don't think you can get better than that. Obviously, for us in Detroit, that Colorado series was amazing. Any others that you want to bring up?
No, I had Canadians as the Montreal team as my number 1 team. Like I said, I didn't watch hockey that much. That against the Avalanche, that was the best hockey, and it was all fighting. Yeah. But I mean, it was still good hockey.
It was great hockey
with Shanahan and with the goalies and with Hasek,
Darren McCarty,
and it was just
Drapes getting run into the boards.
How many times have we watched that?
Yeah, it
Hundreds,
lives on.
Hundreds, thousands. Yeah, I can still, if I see it on, I've got to watch it.
And the other one that lives on that you probably have to make mention of if you're talking about the greatest of all time is the New York Rangers in 1994, where Messier called the shot and claimed victory in his first cup since having been with Edmonton, being able to go somewhere else and do it.
Minot was just out in L.A. with Messier, and he was on her team, and she said he was a great guy.
Yeah, so this was with Danny DeVito and Al Michaels were her coach, celebrity coaches.
I mean, there was a ton of the coaches.
And this was all to raise money for the fire victims.
Correct.
For the wildfires.
Correct. Vince Vaughn, who's one of our favorites from the early 90s. I mean, I like his older movies too, but his early 90s movies were amazing. God, who else? There was a bunch of other people there. The singer, Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber.
And he actually was pretty good.
He can skate a little bit.
He can skate a little bit. He's from Canada. Everybody from Canada can skate. If you can't skate,
Keanu Reeves played goal.
Not in this game?
Keanu, no. But Keanu Reeves was a goaltender.
Oh.
And was in Youngblood. Remember, he was the goalie in Youngblood, the French-Canadian goalie in Youngblood. That was Keanu Reeves. A young Keanu.
Keanu
go back and
Reeves.
watch it.
It was Keanu Reeves.
Go back. She do it to me last week.
Yeah.
Tea with Miss McGill.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You know I'm bringing that. Let me give you one other thing that has stepped it up for hockey. I will tie a bow on this one because I know our producers are wondering when we're going to end this episode. Shoresy. Have you seen the show? I believe it's on Hulu. Shoresy.
You know I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
It is a fantastic comedy show.
What is it?
It takes you deep inside Northern Ontario junior hockey.
Hey.
But this guy is so funny. It's the guy from Letterkenny, if you remember, if you ever got into that Canadian show.
No.
But
I don't even get into American shows.
now they've got Sean Avery on there. He just came on. He just did a guest appearance on.
So is it a podcast?
No, it's a television show. It's a comedy television show.
Oh.
And the way that this guy's running monologue of ripping, because he referees when he's not playing junior hockey. So him ripping on the kids that are ripping on him for being a senior junior hockey player and going back and forth with them about the inner workings of his romances with their mothers is some of the funniest stuff that you are ever going to hear. If you get a chance and you want to get more acquainted with how insane and rabid hockey fans are in Canada, watch Shoresy.
Okay.
You will dig it. Okay. Well, that's all we got. You know, the Butcher's Boy. I know my people, Jeff Mulholland, are down there at Detroit City Distillery. So we thank you for the Butcher's Cut bourbon.
Excellent bourbon.
Excellent bourbon. We have the belt back. The belt is back before us. We're going to be handing that out soon to a final special guest, a secret special guest that you won't find out until our next episode. We're going to do a golf episode because you heard it here from Tom Beer. But until we do, check us out on all the platforms.
Like us, follow us.
Go to YouTube, watch us if you have a stomach for it.
Yeah, we've got about, 25 on there?
We got 20? A lot of episodes out there. You can go back in time if you're not into hockey, if you're not into hoops. We got a lot of football in the back catalog. But go out and find us and be the GOAT at whatever it is that you're doing today.